It is the middle of the night and I'm kind of bored, and the boss just released his ultimate solo queue guide on his channel that he was talking about in the previous videos. As you can see, I watched a lot of them. So I'm kind of hyped. I could need some LP in the solo queue, so let's see if there's something good to watch. As you can see, we watched like the first minute or so, and then I decided to start the recording. So we will see together if we learn something or if this just sucks and we get permabanned after watching this guide. Let's see.
Solo queue.
Let's get it to the beginning and let's see.
Hello, my name is the Buzzovs and
Simon.
welcome to my official solo queue guide.
Hell yeah. Oh, the crit.
Pio! Oh,
This was a recent one.
Penta!
Penna!
Pentakill!
Chilling. Just have to look if the audio looks decent. Hello.
Nice.
The Ramus. Oh,
Oh, I hit the Camille. Hey.
little montage.
I get it.
Outplayed.
Oh, it's a Penta.
AP Rea.
Hey! In case you're new here, like I said earlier, I'm the Buzzovs,
Nope.
league streamer on Twitch, who is currently challenger, and my favorite champion is Sion.
Horse
so why
tongue.
me? What gives me the right to teach you how to play the game? I've been
Good question. The Elo.
a challenger every single year. Last year I peaked rank 11 or 12 on EU. I also got challenger in Korea. Damn! This
Damn,
year
boy.
I peaked rank 15 and I'm currently challenger. So those would be my kinda
Wait.
peaked rank 15
This is not 15, this is 13. But okay.
and I'm
Even better. Good job, horse tongue.
currently challenger.
Or rather, Snail X.
So those would be my kinda qualifications, I guess. What type of guide is this going to be and why am I making it? This guide is going to have tips and tricks for my top 4 champions, Sion, Gragas, Quinn and Rammus. But it's not only going to
Nay, no fucking Zoe guide. Unlucky, man.
be a champion guide, it's also going to touch on general knowledge of the game, alright? So why am I making this guide? A big reason for why I'm making this guide
Because you fucking sexy, mate.
is there are concepts in League of Legends such as freezing, slow pushing, you shouldn't build armor versus magical damage. These you have seen in all types of guides here and there, but there are concepts or tricks that I use in every single one of my games that I haven't seen or heard anyone in the League community ever talk about.
Okay, such as... Now I'm interested. Now I am interested.
So a big reason why I'm making this guide is to teach you guys something completely new about the game that I haven't heard and you probably never heard anyone talk about.
Okay, so I assume that the Baus is happy with the rank that he has right now. I think he thinks that he's peaked. And now he's giving us all the like details and everything, all the tricks, because I don't know what will be said in this video, but I assume that after this video, a lot of the strategies that he's implementing in his games, as he's just saying, might not work as effectively, right? Because now the enemies are maybe prepared, so we will see.
About before. Before I get into the tips and tricks.
By the way, I played with the Baus one time when he was on an account called March 5th or Sex Giant. I don't know. I think it was called Sex Giant, and then he had to rename it to March of 5th or something like that. That was back in season 12, I think. And this season I didn't play with him one single game, so that's sad.
I'd like to do a quick disclaimer first. Lately, a lot of people
And we lost, by the way.
have been wanting me to be permanently banned for my playstyle and stuff like this. I'm not making this guide to try and defend myself, or I'm not making this guide to force my playstyle onto anyone. There are so many people that play a lot more normally who are way better than me. So I'm not saying that how I'm playing the game is the correct way or anything like that. All I want to do with this video is show how I've been getting high elo these last few years and maybe teach you a thing or two. That's all I want to do. I'm not looking for more controversy.
Okay. AP Aurelia.
Alright, getting into the runes here then. We got my top 4 champions, Sion, Gragas, Rammus and Quinn. Starting off with Sion, we got the Grasp setup. I guess what's important here is the Demolish and the conditioning. Never go Shield Bash and never go Second Wind or Bone Plating. This is very crucial. These are the better runes. And then always go Minion Dematerializer. Minion Dematerializer is, in my opinion, the strongest rune in League of Legends. I like to go
No, that's Hex Flash, but go on.
Magic Resist over Armor because it's more gold efficient. Health doesn't really work on Sion because you already get so much health. And other than that, that's pretty standard. If you feel confident enough to play AD Sion, you feel like you have a lot of games on Sion, this would be the rune page setup. Again,
I have to get a drink. Give me a second. Alright, let's see.
Demolish conditioning, something like this. And then you were to build lethality. I only suggest this if you feel like you mastered the champion first. Going into Gragas, Phase Rush page. I'm not 100% sure with the secondary, Minion Dematerializer Magical Footwear.
Hex Flash.
Sometimes I switch it up to maybe Demolish conditioning, whatever I feel like playing. This is what I go most of the games. It's pretty standard, nothing to really think about. Moving on to Rammus, we got the Aftershock. Always needs to go Aftershock. Aftershock is very important on Rammus. It helps you one-shot into the late game. And here again, Minion Dematerializer, you want to use them 1 melee, 1 range, 1 cannon. Go double armor. You never want to put yourself in a position where you're playing versus an AP champion. So this is always gonna be double armor because it gives more damage. Other than that, it's all pretty standard. Going into the Quinn, we got the Electrocute page. We're not playing Press the Attack, we're not playing Lethal Tempo. We're going Assassin Quinn, and this is the rune page I use every single game when I play her. You're playing an assassin, non-ADC. With the mid-season update being right around the corner, it's a little bit weird to talk about what items to build, because some of this is going to change. For Sion, the lethality build is going to be completely different. The tank Sion build is going to be more or less the same. Sunfire, Swiftness Boots, always Swiftness Boots, Harsh Steel, Hullbreaker, Titanic. Starting Kull, of course.
I saw Tolkien play Sion, and he said that he feels like Heartsteel is very bad on Sion, because you already have so much HP that it makes sense to rather get the Jaksho or something for the defensive stats, which should be more gold efficient. But yeah, I guess Heartsteel is more damage and more fun, so...
That's gonna be about the same. Gragas, you wanna start Mana Crystal refillable, and then you wanna go into Lost Chapter and get Ionian Boots, and then you wanna do the book build. So the book build is you stack Fiendish Codexes, multiple of them, because it's a very gold efficient item, and then you get Everfrost somewhere between there. That's also going to be quite the same as after the mid-season update. And then what you want to do late game is you want to finish the books one after the other. So you want to finish the Cosmic Drive, Somnias, etc, etc. Quinn, this one is going to be completely different. Rammus, you're starting Cloth Armor and then you rush 4 melee. 4 melee is the only damage you have in your kit, so you gotta rush this item as soon as possible. You get Sword Boots for more magic damage. You don't need AP.
It's crazy that you go Sword Boots over Steel Plated or Mercs or something. That's crazy to me.
to work. And then you rush armor items like Chain Vest Wardens. You get Even Shroud. Even Shroud is better than Jack Show.
Is
And then
Warden's Mail still so broken? Do you know? I feel like it was very, very broken at one point.
Go into Gargoyle, and then you finish the items. Don't build these items on Rammus, they're very bad, especially Frozen Heart, never build this. But one thing I am going to go over are terrible items you should never build, and these are all the Doran's items, Health Potion, Corrupting Potion, and Control Ward. Why should you...
I mean, my coach told me not to buy so many Control Wards, but honestly I feel like if you place a good Control Ward, and it doesn't get cleared, that's so good, right? So, yeah. And also, for example, you're very ahead already, like 4 kills ahead, and you have the first move all the time, but you don't want to waste your time doing Dragon or Herald. What you then just can do is pink ward the Dragon, as Zoe, for example, in my case, and you don't have to do it, but you'll see if the enemy tries to do it, and then you can just go kill them. That's pretty neat. So I think pink wards are very good if you're ahead. It's just not a good investment if you're already behind.
You never build these items? Well, first of all, they're...
I guess the boss is behind all the time, right? And the thing is, the boss doesn't care about getting ganked and stuff, right? He's just taking the wave while getting ganked, trying to absorb as much pressure and time and everything. But if you're playing mid lane like I am, I feel like you can't have good deaths. Every time you have a death, you lose the plates, you lose the first move, your bot lane gets ganked, you lose the dragon and stuff. So with top laners it's a bit different. I feel like, yeah, top laners don't really have to pink ward, especially if you have the proxy playstyle where it doesn't really matter. But as a mid laner, pink wards are very, very handy. So yeah.
They're not very impressive, but that's not the reason why you shouldn't build them. The reason you shouldn't build them is because they all trick the bounty system into thinking you have money that you don't have. So, I'll give you an example. Let's say you buy a Doran's Blade, and then you sell it for 180 gold. Then you technically lost 270 gold, but the bounty system will still think you have that amount of money. So if you're even with your opponent in items, but you bought a Doran's that you later sold, the bounty system is gonna give you a bounty.
Interesting.
You technically had a lot more gold, you just ended up wasting 270 of it.
That's
because
interesting.
You decided to buy a Doran's in the early game.
Yeah.
Never build these items on any champion in the game. Supports, I'll give you a pass.
Okay, so what do you start on Zoe mid lane then? Is my next question.
Has to buy like 1 or 2 control wards, but any other champion in any other role should never buy any of these.
The thing is that with mid-game champions such as Zoe, you don't really sell these items anyways, right? Not before the third or fourth item. So at that point, money or like gold doesn't matter anyways. All that matters is like rotations and team fights and stuff like that. So I feel like having the strong early game item on Zoe is very important, but I do understand that on top lane it might not be the same. So yeah.
With some of the spells, I always go TP. I think Ignite on top lane is a huge mistake. TP will give you way more. So I usually go TP and Flash, or TP or Ghost, depending on what champion I play. I never take Ignite. Ignite on top lane is bad.
Yeah.
A huge part of the game is drafting.
Even if you kill your enemy laner, you don't get to push out safely usually. And even if you do so, he just TPs and pushes the wave in, and you lose the wave as well. So, I don't know, you just don't get any good backs, and then you're behind 2 levels, and Ignite doesn't, you know? And then in the late game as well, or like mid game even, you can't ever side lane, because enemy can always just TP to the fight, and then you lose like Heralds and Drakes and Barons, and that's usually not what you want.
Champion select, so you need to know how to do it right.
I'm thinking about going TP Zoe, but then again, I can't really sideline on Zoe anyways, so I don't think that's a good idea.
What most people do is they'll look at the enemy champion, enemy team comp, and then they'll counter pick with a champion of their own. But a much more important thing to think about is a rule that I always follow, and I call it the everything rule. So the best draft team comp you can possibly have is a team comp that does everything a little bit.
Okay. Okay. I see. I see. So what he's trying to say here is probably that you don't have a full poke team with like Nidalee, Jace, Zoe, Varus, because then the enemies will understand your strength and then hard engage on you. And you also don't really want a full engage team, because then the enemy can just draft disengage like Janna or Milio, for example. And then once you try to all in and you failed, they can just go on you or like kite you down. So I guess not having a clear win condition makes it very hard for the enemy to counterplay you, because you don't have a play, right?
So they have a frontliner, they have AP and AD damage, they have range, they have AoE, they have a mage, an assassin, an enchanter,
Yeah.
they have everything, right? That is the best type of team comp. It's a team comp with a little bit of everything. So what I usually like to do is, I like to fill all the spots that my team missed. So if my team picked a really squishy team comp, I pick a frontliner.
Yes.
If my team picked no CC, I'll pick a champion with CC. If my team picked only melee champions, I'll go Queen top, and I'll try and fill all the stuff we don't have in a team comp. So what I'm gonna do a lot of my games is, the enemy team will pick Gwen, let's say. I'm purposely picking Sion into it, knowing it's a bad matchup, but the team needs a frontliner. So I'll purposely get a good team comp, but ruin my own laning phase.
That's something that you can do if you're not an OTP. And that's why I'm saying, people say being an OTP is like cheating and getting high elo the wrong way, like it's not worth anything. But if you're an OTP, you have to play every single team comp, right? Except if you like abuse dodge, but I don't do it. Some people do, I guess. But if you're an OTP, you just play every single team comp, even if it's bad, and you just try to outplay even with the bad team comp. And if you're not playing an OTP, but instead you played many different champions, maybe on the same level as the OTP plays his, but you know, play a lot of different champions, which he does, then you can just always do what he just said, like make sure that your team comp is good. So that's why I'm also trying to learn other champions, at least to a kind of decent degree. So in case Zoe is very unplayable, I can at least like pick other champions. Usually, especially with my on-stream grinds, I will still play Zoe most of the time, because I know that my viewers like to watch me play Zoe. But if I'm actually like try hard climbing, that's not what I'm doing. I have like 4 to 5 champions that I actually can play in the mid lane, in the jungle, in the support role, and even on top lane. So in case I actually get one of these positions, I can just play something and still win, or at least not make my team lose. And even in the mid lane, if it's always like unplayable and I have to play like something like Yone or something, I usually know which champion I could pick, which is not Zoe. A lot of people play very similar champions. For example, you play Vel'Koz and Xerath. There's like pretty much the same type of champions, like long range poke champions. But that's not something you should do, I would say, because like Baus is doing, it's best to have like an assassin, a tank, a mage. I think, does Baus have a mage? I mean, he plays Kados top from time to time, but yeah, having different, like very different champions makes it so you understand all the roles better, and also you can do what he just said, like fill everything up, like pick the champion that makes your team comp way better, right? So yeah. Anyways, let's keep watching.
That is much more important than having a good matchup is to have a good team comp,
Yeah.
the everything rule. In majority of my games, around 14 to 15 minutes, my KDA looks something like this, or this, or this, or even any of these. And now you might say, Baus, you're a damn inter, you're a terrible laner, what are you doing? But you haven't seen the full story. Taking a look at the same game, same opponent, same timestamp, and then we take a look at the goal lead, and you'll see that I actually have a goal lead in...
That's so illegal in my opinion. That's so illegal. What the fuck? Maybe Riot has to actually buff kills, because I feel like this game is not made for farming. It's not a farming simulator. It's much more fun to actually fight. And if you win your fights, you should get rewarded. But this cannon is up 8 kills. Okay, 7 kills. And just like 30 farm less. Okay, I guess he lost a lot of plates, right? I don't know. I don't know if this is like fair. I don't know.
Majority of my games, and it's not even a small goal lead. Sometimes it's a goal lead so big that it's hard to even understand where that even came from. And I will explain to you guys what I do in the first 14 minutes that it helps me get such a big goal lead, even though I die a lot.
Yeah, you push the lane and then you move up and you just get your demolish procs for the plating, and then you have your little like passive to clear the next wave as well, so the enemy can't ever push. So you just made like 500 gold while the enemy is getting 300, and next time he kills you, he gets like 200, and you still get the same amount of gold on every rotation because you just have crazy wave clear.
Finally made it into the game. My first in-game tip is going to be something I haven't heard anyone in the...
And then eventually the enemy will make a mistake, and then they actually give you a shutdown, even though you are ahead in gold, which is so hard. The shutdowns, whatever. He's just abusing the shutdown system. But I'm saying abusing, but he's just smart about it, so I don't know.
To talk about or even mention, and that's gonna be respawn timers. So when you die, terrible, you give 300 gold to your opponent, that sucks. But what really matters is that you're dead for a certain amount of time and you're not on the map helping your team. That is the worst part about dying, is that you're not on the map. So how does the respawn timer work? Well, it has two factors. One is how late into the game it is. So the later...
And the other one is your level, XP.
into the game, the higher the death timer. And then 2, how high level you are. The higher level you are, the higher the death timer. But here's the catch. I wrote down some numbers for you guys. This is level 1, level 2, level 3, etc. Goes plus 2 seconds each level. Looks good. But once you reach level 6 and you level up to level 7, you get plus 5 seconds on your death timer. And then when you go...
Okay, so early deaths are way less important than late deaths, which is interesting.
From level 7 to level 8, you get plus 7 seconds on your death timer. And then it goes back to being plus 2 every level. This goes like this for every champion in the game, and it's really weird. I don't know why it is like that, but it's important to know. I'll explain later how you can use this to your advantage. With this knowledge, you can make sure that every time you die, you're not gonna lose an advantage from it. All I'm going to say is bounty system. The bounty system is completely broken.
It is.
And I abuse it every single game.
Yep.
It's quite complicated. So I'll start off by talking...
Okay. Let's see if... Okay, this is like the part that I knew that he somehow... I mean, let's just see. This, I'm very curious right now.
About negative bounty. If someone dies a lot in a game, they'll be worth less and less gold. Taking out all the other factors, whether your team is doing well, if you have a lot of CS or not. In general, this is how it's gonna look. Your first death, you're gonna be worth 300 gold. And then already by the second death, you're worth less with 274. And then third death, you're worth 220, and then etc, etc.
Yeah. Look at this shit, man. Look at this shit. I killed my lane opponent for the third time. No, fourth time actually, and he's worth 150 gold.
Now if you
it's like a plating.
have no kills...
Okay, so what this means is that you should just kill the opponent 1 or 2 times, or maybe a third time, But then eventually you should just focus on getting the platings and using your lead on the map and kill like other people, right? And not the same person all over again, because that's not worth it anymore.
Assist, and you have 5 deaths. Your life is only worth 112 gold. And now, I watch so many guys out there, you have 100% heard this as well. They've said something like, oh, a good player knows how to get carried. If you're having a bad game, play safe under your tower and let your team carry you. That is completely false. If you're going 0-5 and your life is only worth 112 gold, you need to be the playmaker. It is very low risk, because you only give 100 gold, and huge reward. If you're feeding, you cannot start playing safe, because your life is not worth as much, so you need to be the one that makes plays and risks. You gotta be the one risking your life. You can't let your teammates risk their lives. You gotta be the playmaker, especially if you're feeding.
Yeah, if I'm like 5-0 on Zoe, I feel like I can't make the plays. I just have to like be in the back and like shoot stuff from very far away.
All these tips,
because once I die, the game is just immediately game over.
it's about playing safe when you're having a rough game. They're completely false. You gotta be the playmaker, because your life in this scenario would only be worth 112 gold. So you gotta make plays. Now let's talk about the positive bounty system, where if you die, you're worth more than 300 gold. What most people think happens is, if you get a goal lead over your opponent, you'll get a bounty on your head, which makes sense. And it kinda works like that in general, but not quite. Because again, the system is completely broken,
Okay.
and I'm here to explain it and help you manipulate it.
Okay.
Coming a mile away. In League of Legends, there's 6 main sources of income. There's kills.
Okay, there's okay. Kills, turret plates, or like turrets in general, minions, passive gold income, neutrals like Drake or Herald, I don't know, and then like shutdowns from kills or something, or
Kills, assist, minions,
yeah, I guess assists.
turrets destroyed, platings, and gold items like
Oh, never mind. Okay, whatever. He's not even like, okay, whatever. Okay. Whatever.
broken, and I'm here to explain it and help you manipulate it. Coming a mile away. In League of Legends, there's 6 main sources of income. There's kills, assist, minions, turrets destroyed, platings, and gold items like cool and support items. Now these different sources of income will have a different impact on the bounty. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
If you farm 300 gold worth of minions, that will give you a lower bounty than if you got 1 kill.
Why?
Worth of 300 gold. So even though in
Why? Why?
both scenarios you got 300 gold, depending on where you got the gold from, that will determine how big your bounty is going
Why? And how does he know?
to be. So, what is...
If that's the case, I feel scammed. It should be the other way around, or not other way around, but it should be even. Why am I getting punished for outplaying an enemy?
the best way to make money in League of Legends? Kills are a terrible way to make money. If you can kill your opponent and that will give you a CS advantage or anything else above it, that's great. But just getting kills alone barely gives you anything, alright? You get to 300 gold, but you're gonna realize once you're at 4 kills, 5 kills, you're already going to have a 1k gold bounty. So
Yeah.
the bounty system is ruthless when it comes to kills.
The bounty system is just stupid, man. Why am I getting punished for doing good?
You're gonna get 1500 gold from kills, and then you die once and you give back 1k gold.
That
Same
makes
goes
no
with
sense.
Assist. Now assists don't give as much money, so it's not as noticeable. Going to minions. Minions is a great way to make money. It's very stable. The bounty system doesn't attack it the same way as it does with kills. If you farm
This makes no sense.
really well, you will rarely...
This guy, he's 100 CS behind, and he's worth a shutdown. I don't get it.
Get a bounty on your head. Now, of course, if you overfarm, you are going to get a bounty, but
They are not even behind. They're ahead. That makes no sense.
it's not as bad as getting kills. Moving on Turrets Destroyed. Turrets Destroyed works a little bit differently. What killing towers usually do is it enables the enemy team to
What
get
am I even
objective
watching?
bounties. Or it goes one step closer to getting objective bounties. Now objective bounties are not as
11,000 gold? What? Am I seeing wrong? Am I actually seeing wrong?
scary as the individual bounties, so you shouldn't even worry about this. Destroying towers is
Wait.
step
What?
closer to getting objective. But differently, what killing towers usually do is it enables the enemy team to get objective bounties. Or it goes one step closer to getting objective bounties. Now objective bounties are not as scary as the individual bounties, so you shouldn't even worry about this. Destroying towers is always a good thing. It's a great way to make money. You're not gonna get an individual bounty for it, so it's great to do. Always destroy towers. And then we're moving on to platings and gold items. These two, getting cool and taking platings, is the single best way to make money. It's crazy. You know you can go a game getting 15 platings for yourself. You can get that's 2,600 gold. You can get 2,600 gold worth of platings and your bounty wouldn't move an inch.
Really?
You will not get a singular inch of a bounty.
Why?
It is completely tax-free. The Riot bounty system doesn't account for platings. If
Oh my god. I never knew. I never knew this. Okay, so how can I use this information now playing Zoe? Do I just sit mid lane all game and just push every single time instead of roaming? Is that my mistake?
If you can, you should always secure this. That is why the first 14 minutes of the game are the most important minutes of any game. Hopefully you learned something new by now, but what is the point about knowing how something works if you don't know how?
But, okay, my bad for not knowing this already, I guess, but why is this even a thing? Can Riot please change that? Can they just make it so if you're ahead in money, you're worth a bounty? If they want to implement the fucking bounty system. Why am I getting punished for outplaying enemies instead of like last hitting minions? I don't get it. Or like getting turret plates.
Utilize it in your games. So that is what this section is for. Finally, we're getting into the gameplay. Starting off.
Okay, gameplay is like this. You just sit on side lane all game.
We have the early game. The early game is the first 14
What
minutes
the
of the
fuck?
game. It's also the most important minutes of any game. And now you know what you might be thinking. Bows, there's no way I'm taking laning phase tips from you.
True.
You're the worst laner in the entire EU. And that is false. Okay, it is false. I am actually a great laner. I would consider myself my biggest strength is actually my laning phase. Going into the stats here in the League client, you take current season Sion, then you go into income. You can see that on average, at 15 minutes, I have a 900 goal lead. Every single game on average, 900 goal lead at 15 minutes. Now, if I'm going 0-4 and my opponent laner is 4-0, it might look like I'm losing the lane, but again, on average, over my opponent, I have a 900 goal lead. Actually, my biggest strength is my laning phase. Yeah, I'm gonna show you what I do and how I get this goal lead. The idea is that you pick Sion, who is a late game champion, you buy Kull, who is a late game item, you take the runes that I chose, who are all late game runes. But how the hell are you supposed to get a goal lead into the early game then? That makes no sense.
True.
Well, your opponent is always going to beat you. So the idea
is, okay, let's see.
is that you wanna
Oh wait, by the way, do I cover him? Oh shit. I actually do. Well, now it's too late. Now it is too late. I'm so sorry, Simon.
mismatch your tempo. Now you might not understand what I mean there, so I'll try and explain it. But you want to be in lane when your opponent is not in lane, and you want to take the base when your opponent is in lane, if that makes sense. So There's nothing you can do level 1. Level 1, you both will come to lane at the same time. There's no strategy behind it. You're gonna die, because you're all late game. And he bought potions, he maybe got a Dorans or whatever, so he's gonna kill you. Now what I like to do is I like to farm safe the first 2 waves. Try and get as many as you can, you'll take a lot of damage. It's fine to take a lot of damage, but as soon as wave 3 comes, as soon as it comes, what you do is you walk up and you just Q the whole wave. The opponent will hit you and kill you, but you Q it, he will then kill you, and then after he kills you, you'll clear the whole thing in the passive. That is the strategy. And during this time, you get to clear the whole wave, and now of course, it's able to crash in. Now it stayed a bit, but it's still able to crash in, right? And now you get a free reset, and you're back to lane. And your opponent, because he didn't focus the minions, he has to clear all of this, and it now pushes towards me. And keep in mind, during this time, even though he killed your entire health bar, you at least did 300-400 damage to him, right? Like, you at least did some damage to him. So he's pushing all of this, and he's half health or something like that. So now you come back with a item advantage and health advantage. So what does the opponent do now? Well,
Okay, he resets and TPs.
he has 2 options. He can stay and be at a health disadvantage, and he will eventually die himself, because again, he has no health or no items. Or he can recall and try and TP.
If he TPs, what do you do then? You just hold the freeze until you just randomly push?
He tries to recall. That's where Minion Dima comes in handy. You gotta hurry. He's recalling. You have to hurry and push all of this. It's very, very, very important you do it as fast as you can. So you do this, you Minion Dima that, and you know he's TPing right now, and you try and push as fast as you can. And now he's back to lane. But now he can't attack you because you have a full cannon wave with you.
And now you go proxy.
And once this wave cannon, he's gonna take it like always. What you do is you loop around, and you loop around here, and then you come behind him. Once you're behind him, it's a free game. GG, you just won the game. Because again, you're full late game, and if you guys know about the proxy strategy, nobody can kill you here. You're
Yeah, they're just losing out on minions and everything.
free to farm how much you want. You get 10 CS per minute no matter what you do here.
Yeah.
Because there's no enemies. If a laning phase goes like that in the first 5 levels, you have done perfect. And then once you get here, all you basically do is just proxy till you die, basically. Or proxy till you get out of mana. And once you run out of mana, what you do then is you use suicide with 1 Q on the wave. And that should clear the whole thing, in the rest in your passive. Just like this. Didn't get the cannon, but you get the idea. You get the idea.
Yes.
So dying enables you to mismatch your tempo. So when you're in base, your opponent has to clear the wave, and then once he's in base, you're in lane, and you're able to push the lane. That is the best way of laning with this strategy, is to not be in lane the same time as your opponent is in lane. You farm minions when he's not here, he's farming them when you're not there. That is the best way. This strategy never fails. Always do that. Not every laning phase is pixel perfect, but things you have to think about is no matter what, you need to protect your tower. She's the most precious thing in your life. Her health bar is more important than your own health bar. And one way...
If you take into account that you don't get a bounty from platings, I guess that's the case, yeah.
To keep your tower safe is to always push. Every single wave that comes, you will always shove it. Push it. As soon as it's here, you do a full combo on it and you kill it. Every single wave. This will, even if you die or not, this will always protect your tower, no matter what. If you're level 6 or below, you always have to push the wave here. When it comes here, you'll have to push it. If you are level 7, you have to push the wave around here. That is better. Because if you die and you're level 7,
you can ult back to lane or ult out to the turret.
Your death timer is actually going to be too long to be able to protect your tower. So let's say I die here. The death timer now is actually going to be too long comparing to level 6. Look, 15 seconds. So you're actually not going to be able to run. You're not going to be able to run back and defend your tower. So if you're level 6 or below, you catch the wave here, shove it instantly. If you're level 7 or above, you have to proxy and you have to catch the wave here. Best thing would be if you catch the wave here. Working ourselves into the mid game. This is minute 14 to 25 maybe, I'm not quite sure. The mid game, what do I like to do? I like to be on the side lane all the time.
Wherever the objective is, right? When Drake is up, you go top lane. If Herald is up, you go bot lane.
Coming from base, maybe you've died, maybe you recalled. What do? Well, you check which lane you go to, either top or bot. You never go mid, either top or bot. So I like to see myself as a turret destroyer. So let's say this tower is gone, then I will go bot lane, and I'm gonna work on this tower. Now a very important thing, if you wanna side
Never mind. Yeah.
lane, is to push the wave first.
Okay.
Alright, so you're gonna be versus another opponent, target dummy again. Your job is to get the wave first. If you're able to catch the wave, as soon as
That's why I struggle with Zoe.
it comes, boom, boom, it's cleared, let's say. And then your wave is coming here. If his wave is already cleared, you then have a roam timer that you can either help your team. What I like to do is I like to sneak around, loop around here, and proxy. Stay here, and then he clears the wave, right? And then when this wave comes, clear it, and now you have an insane timer. So what you're gonna do then is you're gonna threaten a roam. If your opponent answers the roam by roaming himself, then your wave is crashing into the tower, and you just go back and you'll take the tower, basically. But the important thing is to always clear the wave before your opponent. That is what enables tempo.
Okay.
If you have a tempo advantage, you can then roam before him, or you can take tower. Always clear the
Yeah,
wave
wave clear is
first.
broken.
I will never join.
I feel like Zoe doesn't have enough wave clear. I feel like it's not enough wave clear.
A fight.
Or okay, let's say okay. The wave clear itself is not bad, but for Zoe's wave clear to be efficient, you have to wait for the whole minion wave to arrive, because else the minions are just spread out. Like, okay. So let's say this is the lane, and then the minions come in, and they are like this. And if you Q something, the maximum amount of minions you hit is like 2. But later, if they actually like group up, because here's like your minions, and then they fight against like 3 melee minions and 3 range minions, and they fight against each other, then you can obviously just come from the side and go like this and hit like 3 of them at once, and then frontline or something. But you have to wait for them to start attacking your minions, and that's a huge issue with Zoe. I feel like I can never just push first.
With my team, unless it's the 3rd dragon, or the 4th dragon, or the Baron. If it's one of those 3, I might join the team fight. But if it's anything else, 2nd dragon, Herald, or what people even like to do is they like to randomly teamfight in mid lane without any objective being on the map. If there's no objective on the map and a teamfight breaks out in mid lane, don't join it. Stay side lane. It's not worth to join teamfights who don't have an objective in them as a top laner. But getting into the late game, after 25 minutes, let's say, you're level 15 or something by then. What do you do in the late game? You come from base? Guess what? You still go side lane. You go side lane and you push out. Again, you shouldn't let waves crash into your tower. Here's the thing with late game. All my strategies, you can throw them out of the window now. Because all of a sudden, deaths are relevant. And dying is a really bad thing. Because your death timer is like 30-40 seconds by now. So dying is very risky. And getting kills on your opponent has insane value. So I will look to play more safe, but also look to kill my opponent a lot more. Whether I assassinate them or whatever, right? Usually by now, if you have all the scaling set up, you will be stronger than your opponent anyway.
That's what I'm saying, man. Late game scaling champions are just so broken. If I don't end the game quick on Zoe, I just lose.
So you're just gonna beat him most of the games. How do you teamfight with Sion? You always want to flank, and that's a great thing because you come from a side lane, so flanking is very easy. If there's a fight in mid lane, you will push the wave here, and then you will roll. You will roll all the way here, and look at this flank you have. You go right into the enemies, if the fight were to break out here. So, if you were to teamfight with Sion, you want to flank. Always flank. Getting into tips and tricks that help me win the game. I won't go over the normal ones, I'll just go over the ones I see people don't use. So starting off with Sion, getting into the passive. If you're already melee range with your opponent, don't use your active. Once they flash away, that's when you use your active ability. Like here, if you're in range, once he flashes away, then you run after with your ability. What most Sion players do is, as soon as they get into the passive, they will instantly click the ability and they will waste their speed boost. Don't do that.
Okay.
Another thing, close range ultis. If you're close range like this with your opponent, don't just click R. That screws up your camera, it's a lot harder to hit, it's just very sloppy to make. Instead, what you're gonna do is, you're gonna click R plus Q at the same time. R plus Q. Instead of your camera screwing up, it's gonna make this. Much more nicer, a lot up, it's gonna make this.
Interesting.
Instead, what you're gonna do, it's a lot harder to hit. Don't just click R.
Interesting.
That screws up your camera, it's a lot harder to hit, it's just very sloppy to make. Instead, what you're gonna do is, you're gonna click R plus Q at the same time. R plus Q. Instead of your camera screwing up, it's gonna make this.
Oh.
Much more nicer, a lot easier to hit, it doesn't mess up your camera. It's a weird little bug, I guess you could say, but always use this for melee range ultis. R plus Q. And then into another Q or whatever you want to do after that. Another thing is when you camp the bushes, bush Qs. My signature move is to camp a bush and Q them from Fog of War, right? What I see a lot of players do is, they're gonna walk in the bush, they're gonna have their opponent, and they're gonna charge the Q.
Okay, so what he's telling us in a second is go to the very edge of the wall so you don't get spotted going into the bush, and then go to the very edge of the bush to Q.
Like that. That is not how you're supposed to charge it from the bush. In every single bush, you can always make an extra step. So don't go in here and charge the Q, always click on this pixel to be right on the edge. This gives you way more range, right? Every bush has a pixel. You click on it, and then you get max range. It's way better. Getting into my second champion here, we have Gragas. The thing with Gragas is that he has unlimited amount of insane combos you can make, right? Let me show you one. Okay. Looks a little bit rough. I failed it. I have thousands of hours on Gragas, and I still can't, for the life of me, make these combos work. So you're not gonna go for these combos. They're super unreliable and way too hard to make. I have one combo, that's all you're gonna need.
Yeah, he just walks into the enemy.
That's W, E, Q, flash auto. It's super standard, everybody knows about it. And then pop the Q as late as you can. It's the only combo you will need. You follow up with an ulti after it or whatever you wanna do. Doing these crazy flashy combos are too unreliable, don't do them. Only go for this combo, it's the only thing you'll need to rank up. It's just as good as the other combo. It doesn't look as cool. But we're not playing to look cool, we're playing to rank up. Another trick is when your opponent is under his tower, you wanna cook up your barrel and then you wanna throw him into it. That's really hard to do if your opponent is under tower, because the tower will block them from being displaced. So what I like to do is, I like to cook the barrel under the tower. Your opponent has to move, and then you can push them into it, alright? Now the best way to push your opponent into your barrel is to E into ult. So you do Q, you walk up to them, E ult. This will never fail, and it's an insanely broken strategy. Walk up to them, and then once they're here, you can move them anywhere, because you can E. They can't dodge that CC. If you just ulti them from far away, they can easily dodge it.
Yeah.
So cook the barrel on the tower, and then E ulti, and it will always go where you want it to go. Another trick on Gragas is the invincible barrel Q. If you put your Q inside of a wall,
he means invisible.
This is now invincible to your opponent.
Invisible.
They can't see it. If you put it inside a wall, they won't be able to see it.
That's so crazy. But that's something that you already know, usually.
The same thing as putting it into a
It's like the Orianna ball that you just put in the wall.
bush. This is being used a little bit, but it is not nearly being used as often as it should. It's such an insanely OP strat. Even here, this barrel is completely invincible to your opponent. So they're just gonna walk straight into it, and they're gonna take maximum damage. Completely invincible Q. Always use the Q into the wall. Our champion, Rammus. Very high mechanical skilled champion.
Yeah.
No, but there are stuff you need to think about. There are. So first up, you have a 4-mail. Minions are spawning. If you use your Q while you have your W gets removed. So, same goes with the ulti. Your W gets removed. Your W deals 114 damage per attack. The idea is that you should never ever cancel your own W. If your opponent is on 100 health, it's better to keep holding the W than to try and ulti them, because that removes the W, and your ulti barely deals the same amount of damage as one auto attack. As long as your W is active, all you're gonna do is walk around and taunt people. Don't use your Q, don't use your ulti. When it runs out, then you're free to do what you want. Another thing I like to do is, people use Rammus ulti as an engage tool. I don't use it as an engage tool.
Yeah, disengage.
I always run into my opponent with my Q, and I do the crazy taunt combo. Very hard to do, right? No, but the idea is that once your W gets expired, your opponent is gonna look to kill you. Now they're all gonna jump on you and kill you. That's when you need your ulti to run away. I don't like to engage with my ulti, because I like to disengage with it when I don't have my W up. Those are like the two the two combos I could find.
Damn!
Not a very hard champion to play. Of course, the idea with Rammus is you can't clear a wave normally.
Yeah, so you have to proxy
to clear,
or like at least face tank the minions coming.
The whole idea behind Rammus is you don't want your wave, your own minions nearby. You need the enemy minions to only attack you, because all of a sudden you clear the wave a whole lot faster. So that is the one trick I could give on Rammus, is to
every single champion the boss plays has very good wave clear.
Always be the only ally nearby. So that's the only thing.
That's the only thing that Zoe doesn't have. I wish Zoe had wave clear.
People can attack. Never be close to your own minion wave.
Like actual wave clear.
In a way.
So just make the Q AoE a bit more.
Our champion and final champion is gonna be Quinn, the bird. The combo is gonna look something like this. E claw auto Q auto. So it's pretty straightforward. It is the best combo to make. E claw to get melee range, and then mid.
Okay, yeah, claw doesn't really matter, right? Claw doesn't really matter.
Alright, let's wrap this guide up. Let's summarize it. What did we learn today? Runes.
That I learned that turret plates don't give shutdown on you. That's not included in the bounty system. The thing about the respawn timers. Then what else? Yeah, and I like the how to get tempo, I guess, but that I already knew, and I kind of hate that I can't ever do it with Zoe on side lane. So I just don't go side lane. I just never get tempo. I just sacrifice minions, which is not a good idea, I guess. Especially because we just discussed kills are worthless.
Let's wrap this guide up. Let's summarize it. What did we learn today? Runes. Demolish, really good. Scaling runes, incredibly good. Always go for scaling runes. Items. Hopefully I taught you something about the Dorans. Stay away from them. Don't build them. Going into in-game. Always push lane if you can. Always try and be the pusher. If you're gonna die, make sure you die before level 7. And if you're playing Sion, dying when pushing before level 7 is actually good for you. Your KDA is mostly irrelevant. You need to look at gold income instead. You shouldn't go for kills, you should go for money. Make sure you split push. Split pushing is your main objective. You're the turret destroyer.
By the way, now I'm blocking him again, right? Yeah, he's moving around with the face cam all the time, so there's nothing I can do.
And yeah, hopefully I taught you something about the combos as well. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I did put a lot of effort into the video, so if you could drop a like and no, that is fine. Watching the video is more than enough. Thank you so much, and yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Not too shabby. Very, very interesting, very interesting. 35 minutes, and I actually learned quite a bit. Baus is risking giving his enemies knowledge about his strategies in order to teach us how to escape gold. I am Grandmaster. okay, let's just not. Yeah, but yeah, even I learned a lot. So yeah, thank you for this guide, Mr. Baus. Hope you enjoyed my reaction. Hope you learned as much as I did, or even more. Go check out his video. Link is in the description. Like it a bit, comment a bit, and then hopefully he will still be able to use the strategies now that everybody knows. I feel like Riot also didn't know about the whole bounty system thing with the platings, and they will implement it now. That they know of it. It can't be an intended feature of them that you don't get bounties by destroying turret platings. There's just no way. So, yeah.